How do you treat cats and dolphins? Cats are smart. Sometimes they just tolerate people who do not understand what they have understood long ago. A cat is able to use simple currents and help a person to do it, if it likes him. A cat will like you if you do not bother her. Dolphins are one of the smartest creatures in the sea and ocean. Their mind is far superior to the human mind in the exchange of information. But dolphins do not show this superiority, since a person cannot correctly assess it. Still, the person does not understand how it is possible to communicate differently. Because of this, dolphins also can't talk to people, although they constantly try. Human speech is very slow for dolphins. They spend a lot of time listening to it. Not all of them like it, and they sometimes don't pay attention to the person. A person must learn to talk to dolphins and not only to them. Together with them, he will see the world very differently. It will not only have a different time, but also a different speed. What is Russia's future? What are Russia's prospects in the time of the changes? Russia is an important territory. Most of the changes and transformations will take place here. A new one will be created here. Don't leave Russia. Who is the Bigfoot? This is a resident of Earth. He appeared before people. His mind is simple, but has the ability to communicate with other parallels. He lives separately from people, because he doesn't need to communicate with them. It is closer to Earth than humans. In the body of Bigfoot there is something that causes people to fear. This is how Bigfoot keeps people at a distance. Sometimes it removes the fear, because people can tell new things when they meet. He doesn't need to speak with his tongue. He is able to speak mentally. Snow people have knowledge that is closed from people, but the Earth needs it. So they keep it and make it available to the entire field of the planet. If a person connects himself with the Earth, this knowledge is revealed to him. Are frequent visits to the Earth of other civilizations related to the upcoming changes? Others visit Earth to solve their own problems. Any help is done when they also need it. Otherwise, they will do something for you simply, without meaning. Others do not need to visit Earth often. They are able to see events on Earth from the place where they live. A person can also do this. Arriving on Earth means wanting to change something in the real life of the planet. Why do some parts of the body vibrate strongly sometimes? Each of people reacts to the waves that are sent to them by those who are at a distance. The human body is able to receive such waves and respond to them. Waves can also be sent from a person to person. If you feel the waves, you don't need to worry. This is a signal that you are being spoken to. Not all waves should be answered. A response means a consent. Silicon will be the basis. Can you describe a person in more detail when it will be based on silicon? Silicon will enter the body as a part. It will become much larger in relation to other parts. It will be held by red dots in the blood and included in the bones by 11%. It will enter the human body through food, at that sand will not be food. The human body will change and become even better at perceiving waves. Silicon is able to conduct the waves quickly and reflect them like a mirror. About the DNA, I wanted to clarify. At the moment of adapting to space, does the DNA mutate or not? How does it adapt and how does it relate to the subtle body? When an organism comes to another world, it always begins to change. Changes occur in different ways. If the world is very different from the home world, then changes occur faster. The subtle body does not come to another world. It is always in its own world, and an additional connection is established with it. It's like several light bulbs running on a single battery. If there are too many light bulbs, the battery will quickly run out, and the transients will live less. People have done this before. This is described in your old books. In case of mutation/modification or adaptation, is the connection with the original matrix lost? Is it possible to transfer a biological organism to its original and unchangeable state? What does this mean? The connection with the subtle body is never lost, because you and it are one and the same. If you try to change the living conditions of the body often, then there will be a lot of light bulbs. One light bulb is your home world, where you were born. You must live there. Tell us about consciousness. What is consciousness? What role does consciousness play at this time? About the evolution of consciousness, about the awakening of consciousness in people in our time, about Sri Aurobindo and his books. Consciousness is the ability to change and perceive the proposed state. Conscious knowledge how the world is changing. Consciousness is given to those who come to live differently. All those who live with you on earth have consciousness. These consciousnesses are different, and sometimes you don't see them or pretend not to see them. Then people start thinking that their consciousness is lonely and start looking for intelligent beings. In fact, intelligent beings live near you and learn from you. Their consciousness, compared to yours, is sometimes very simple, and they seem stupid. This is not true. They all have minds. Different minds are the same thing. If you combine them, you get a big mind that lives everywhere at once. People don't understand this either. It seems to them that only some should have a mind. Many people are afraid of a strong mind, because then it can subdue them as a weak mind. Unfortunately, people do this very often. This is their mistake. It is impossible to subordinate and force forcibly. You need to make sure that others understand why you need to do this, and not otherwise. You need to be able to explain. Due to the fact that they can't explain, wars happen. When they disappear, it will be the first sign that people have learned to use the mind not only in themselves. I would like people to never force other people to do something they don't like or hurt them for it. Only you need is to tell in time what you need to do and what you don't need to do. Otherwise, people will do bad things and think that others like it. From early childhood, I have always wanted to see global changes, for example, cataclysms. And oftentimes the thought about this visited and visit. What you told about further changes, I really want to see it all, to participate. Can you explain why such thoughts were visited from an early age, as a result of which? When big things happen on Earth, they don't happen right away. They come gradually, because our world is changing very slowly. It's like waves in the ocean. First there are different waves, and then big ones. If you can understand small waves, you can prepare others for big ones. They should also understand this. Sometimes you can't do it, or people refuse to do it. Then you should just watch and learn. How will problems with credit obligations be resolved during the change period? Money will not be needed. In the last time appeared many creatures calling themselves elves. On this topic, there are sites as Elhfi, free settlement, etc. What do you think about it? The elves are gone from Earth forever. They left behind a landmark that people see as a silvery light. This is a place for those who are ready to move like elves. It is connected to the planet Earth and makes a circulation around it. When people find themselves opposite, they feel that the landmark is close and remember the elves. Some of the people make their way to the landmark, they come up with stories, draw, and write. You can also walk this way. But everyone reaches only to their own place, where the silvery light cannot harm. In general, this light is not harmful, but when it is too much, it can be harmful. Elhfi is a place where many people, who feel and sometimes see a landmark gather. Turning to it, you can contact the elves. The closer to the landmark, the stronger the connection. You can talk to elves not only with the help of a guide. Some people talk to them the same way they talk to an ordinary person. There is no distance or time. How to distinguish truth from lies? Now the internet has a lot of information about 2012 and so on. Whom to trust? Are there any more tangible ways to test this than just feeling it? Lies are built only by people. There are no lies in the world. To distinguish truth from lies, you need to learn to see not only yourself, but also other beings, as well as their worlds where they live. This is not easy, because people are used to considering the earth as their home. A person's home is everywhere, and this means that he can go wherever he wants, if he has the opportunity. You can't think that you can run or not go, you have to do it. And when you do it, you need to understand what to do and how to do it. Then truth and lies disappear, because you no longer belong to them. Now you think you can't do it without them. That's what my friends sometimes do when they say they can't do without ice cream or chips. There will be a change in 2012. The knowledge of it comes to you as a high wave. There will be even higher waves behind it. If you go into the sea and do not fall from the incoming waves, sooner or later one of them will make you do it. You don't have to fall, because the wave can pass around you. It goes around when you understand what it means. If the wave goes around, it will still touch you, but only slightly. In this case, you will be given what you need and what could be transferred with a strong touch. If you want to test what you feel, compare it with other people and ask yourself. Your answer is the most important. How do you and your family manage all your affairs? You feel, see their wrong actions, steps explain how you inform them. After all, there are moments in your life when you disagree with someone somewhere, but the person only sees what he wants to see. I love my mom and dad. We sometimes quarrel with our brother when he's being mean, but it doesn't last long, and then we make up. When I was sick, he took care of me, brought me a drink, played with me, and my mother came in every half hour and treated me with something every time. If I start to study poorly, I am scolded and forced to study. I can be offended, but then I always understand that this is the right thing to do. I tell what I know mostly only to my brother. Mom and dad think I'm fantasizing and smile. They like what I make up, but they don't really believe it. Sometimes it's hard to convince adults of something I didn't do. For some reason they think that they are being deceived, and sometimes they calm down. I have to lie. After that, it is very difficult to tell the truth. So I try not to do that, and it's better to keep quiet. I don't know what wrong things my parents might do. I love them very much and I think they always try to do the right thing. And my younger brother is still small and a little clueless. A man now is given huge opportunities in terms of cognition and study the internet, various esoteric books, schools. It seems that this is not just for fun. Does it lead to the first steps to passing changes? What is the best thing to pay attention to? What to avoid? There is a knowledge that you must know, because you are a part of that knowledge. This knowledge is one. It cannot be separated, but it must be studied gradually. Everyone studies as best they can, reads, writes, draws, looks, and speaks. Everyone is listened to carefully if they become noticeable. If people are lazy and do not do this, they stop being noticed, and then you will have to do very quickly and a lot. You need to find something that has the sound inside of you. This is yours. If you feel the cold of an object, do not take it, it is dangerous for you. You can't take something that will make you too heavy inside. People should always be lightweight, they were created that way. How to treat channeling? There are many of them, and they give a lot of different information and predictions. Those who speak to you give you knowledge. This is always done simply and clearly. This does not mean that you use simple actions and a short time. If this happens, then think why it's happened so. Sometimes some others start thinking for you. You can't do that. Only you think, because knowledge is given to you. The one who gives knowledge is your friend. You must understand and know that you trust him and understand him. If you don't, you'll never understand what he's talking about. People can choose what they need and what they don't need. This is not good or bad. Can you give some tips on how to prepare for the change? You will need such quality as mindfulness and understanding of what is happening. This can be called mindfulness, which goes ahead. If you know how to communicate with someone who knows something, then the change will be easier. If you can do it from a distance, it will be even better. Then you will need to find the strength to give up the feeling that makes you doubt even when everything is clear. This caution is not necessary, because it interferes with people. You also need to learn to feel what the other can do in order to do better together, because people alone do little. At the same time, you can't force them to work for each other. What do you know about Nibiru? How does it influence on us? What role does it play in our solar system? Nibiru is part of the solar system. Your scientists have already realized that it belongs to the system and affects it after a while. Nibiru changes the movement of the planets and what happens on the Sun. On the Sun, changes begin after they occur on planets, because planets transmit changes to the Sun in motion. Nibiru will bring the changes that need to be. They will be related to climate and human health. People should not fight, but look for opportunities to adapt to new conditions. If people don't understand this, there won't be enough good living conditions for everyone. Why do I need to learn how to protect my things during the change? If you are able to maintain the form when it most wants to change, it means that you have the opportunity to store and use the knowledge about the world that you created yourself. Then you will be able, if necessary, to return the shape of the thing at any time, or to tell about how it looked. Those who come after you will need it. Drunvalo Melchizedek says that people will leave by waves. And there will be 3 big waves in total. There will be millions left, he said. Not only 3 waves will come. There will be 8 of them, but the rest will come when you are no longer on Earth. People will need to leave the Earth because not everyone will be able to adapt to the change. In this case, it is best to leave and not interfere with the others. To leave or stay, everyone will decide for themselves. Tell me, I've seen for a long time ago that Moscow is already in the water till the 7th to 8th floor. Others had such dreams, too. What do you think about our capital? What you say about rising water levels is one of the options for your future. Its percentage is 81, but it has not been completed yet. Why are so many people in the world using drugs lately especially? Drugs make it possible to move yourself mentally to a place where you feel better than you do now. This place is reached when a person changes himself, and not with the help of something. If these changes were not made by the person himself, then he pays for being in that place ahead of time. This fee is a repeated life. A person's time and thoughts are taken away from him. People try to get used to such movements, because then people start to get confused about the time of life to do something wrong. Then they get help, but you can't do that. This help is not real and you do not need to accept it. Those who offer it do so with bad thoughts. What is time? Is there something out of time? How to get there? How is the future predetermined and how is it changing? We have already said that time was invented by a man. There is no time outside your world. When you find yourself outside of your world, you will immediately see and understand it. Everything that you don't see now exists outside of time. This is more than 3 times in a half. You can only get there when you have lived your life. You can also go there for a short time. This can happen while living on Earth, but then your question should be very interesting. Such a question is asked in several worlds at once, and the one who asked it is transferred as an image to the TV. On our planet, you can also receive such programs, but for some reason people have invented their own television. Your future is defined forever and cannot be changed. But you choose what form it will be. It changes every time you understand something in the world where you live. Anything you do changes the future. This can even be felt if the understanding or action is significant. One person or many people can have a future. Then it is much more difficult to change it, but more interesting. It is necessary that people who want to do this often communicate with each other and think together. You can just make friends. Why does vision deteriorate? Why is there myopia, farsightedness? How are such diseases treated by the course of life? How did you respond? Is it enough to simply eliminate the cause? If you only see close up, you don't need to look far away often. You need to explore the world that is close to you. To do this, you are given close vision. Those who see only far away have not learned yet to look at what is at a distance from them. Such a person is good at doing simple things, but he is not good at doing things with others. If these people wear glasses, their speed of understanding what they are already good at increases, and they begin to do it much better than others. Glasses can help with this, but they don't fix what you should be doing. Vision does not deteriorate. It becomes what a person is. There are other cases when a wound occurs on the eye. Then you need a doctor to help. In other cases, it all depends on the person. If it's a wound, the doctor will help you, but if there is a film on the eye or vision changes, it means that you are changing. If you want to stop this, then you need to change in a different way. Here, the reason may be in a different time. Who determines the mission of a man on earth? Do we do it ourselves or some higher consciousness? What happens to a person after death? What happens if a person can't complete his mission for some reason? What a person comes to live with is determined when what is not yet a person chooses where to be born. When a choice is made, it will not change for the rest of your life. You can't leave earlier. Then what you have chosen will harm you, because it will spoil. When a person begins to live, he can change the ways of how he will achieve what he has chosen. This choice is always interesting to those who create conditions for human life. They only watch, because that is the main meaning of all that is happening. Sometimes, if big changes start in life, they help. But these changes often come from them. After death, a person understands whether he has achieved what he wanted or not. This happens very quickly. The same is true for those who created life for a man. If a person has not worked enough in life and because of this has not been able to achieve the desired, he is sent to live again. This time, life will always be more difficult for him. Those who have achieved what they want, show it to everyone and go on. It may not be life anymore. Those who refuse to live in the middle of life do very badly, because they have to be saved from the effects of what is given to them for life. Such people are punished right in the world where they did it. The punishment lasts until people realize what they have done to others when they did it. These people should be helped while they are at peace. They are not bad people, they are just weak. Weak doesn't mean bad. It's just that he doesn't know how to use what he was given and doesn't study well. They are helped when they want to learn, and if they don't, they are left alone. Is it true that the Bible and other religious literature are only a projection of a higher world on the average person's mind, as a way of motivating without explaining the real process? Can a person on earth understand the true structure of the world? The Bible and other old books tell you what your time is. People don't understand this and try to find something important in it. As soon as they find it, they say it is God and pray to Him. They are asking themselves. The higher world is also people, but later. What people call the higher world is not this, but a world that used to be like Earth or more. It is almost impossible for people to understand that this is the same thing, because their consciousness is asleep and divided. People divide themselves into higher and lower ones and see the same thing in the mirror of the world. They are shown to themselves, but they don't understand it. To understand that everything is one, you need to connect the past, the future in the present. Then you will see that you live in a world that many have only dreamed of. This will be a discovery. If you believe it and accept it, time will disappear forever. You need to go through 3 stages, and with the third look at the world. All other stages are not for a man. What is the destiny line? How does it get on a person's hand? Are there predetermined destinies of several people who must fulfill a common mission? What happens if people oppose to this mission? The line of destiny is created when a person comes to live. It shows the currents that exist in a person. These currents show the essence of a person and distinguish him from others. It is enough to show your hand to tell another person about yourself. But the police, I know, for some reason only take fingerprints. The fate or program of life is determined from birth and cannot be changed. A certain fate means that such a person has very little opportunity even to change the way of achieving his goal in life. If a person is to be associated with many people, this is also defined, but rarely appears as defined at the beginning. This does not happen because such a person needs to prepare first. but those who are the same age as him will see that he is unusual. If a person abandons his task, his currents will change. They can change very much and make a person leave ahead of time. Or it may be the opposite, a person will be forced to do what is necessary, because in this life he cannot choose, since his previous choices were unsuccessful, and he did not learn this. Why will some countries be affected more and some less by the change? What does it depend on? Depends on the currents that will appear on Earth. These currents should change. The strongest currents will be at coordinates 25.19 SW 28.19 VD and at 23.08 to 8.01 parts of the Earth, so that they correspond to what will soon appear. This requires new conditions, and they are being created. Countries will gradually lose their importance. Then there will be only 3 countries, and one of them will be formed. After that, people will stop paying attention to where someone lives. They will be able to move wherever they want, because there will be few of them. Now is the time of Lent for the Orthodox. It is believed that this time is reserved for the spiritual development of a person, since at this time, those who observe fasting, read penitential prayers, perform good deeds, etc. Do you think that observing the rules of Lent, can you improve spiritually? Yes, you can change the energy of the spirit during fasting. That's why it happens. The time of fasting falls on the time of the annual change in the Earth's energies. Some are able to switch them without a post, but others need it. If people don't fast, they get sick. This is also switching, only strong. If you read prayers, the sound of your body becomes stronger and looks for similar ones. If such a sound is found, then there is a clear sound. It can grow. Pure sound removes from you what can't sound and is there by mistake. The first reported the imminent end of the First World War, the second predicted the outbreak of the Second World War, and finally the third contained a warning about weapons of unheard of destructive power that produce a strange, very bright flash. Lucia's notes on God's warnings were never made public, remaining safely hidden in deep vaults in the heart of the Vatican. It was not the Virgin Mary who spoke to children in 1917. It was only an image. So as not to frighten the children. It was also necessary to make them believe, and not only them, but also adults. What was passed on to people was supposed to change the course of their development, speed it up. The Vatican did the right thing by withholding information. Such knowledge cannot be transferred prematurely to people. The transmitters broke the law. People had to go through what they went through. Otherwise, their consciousness would not have received the experience that was received. What people have received is not always pleasant and good in their opinion, but it is their actions. These actions are conceived and built by people themselves. You need to build what you like and what you understand. Summer is coming, the time of holidays and vacations. It seems to me that there are many places on Earth that are worth visiting because of their peculiarities. So they say that the place where you were born feeds a person. They also say that Crimea is a place of connection between heaven and earth. There are also many other places. What do you think? Is it reasonable to believe that there are good and bad places on Earth? Is it possible to find them on the map with the help of dowsing, pendulum, on the map yourself? What place do you think is very good on Earth? There are important places on Earth. In them, a person is always good. This is Australia and place 28.36 to 13.04. Crimea is also a good place, but closer to the east. There, where it joins the sea and the earth, their condition connect. These connections are always correct. When you are in the places of such connections, your own connections also begin to become correct. Therefore, many people like to go to the sea and relax there. Good places to stay are searched for in different ways. When you try to do this with a frame, you mentally send a part of yourself to this place. Then, when this part is returned, it acts on the frame, and it shows the result. You can do without a frame, just sending a part of yourself to where you need to go and try to see and feel where you got to. There should be clean colors and light sensations. What do you think of Sai Baba? Sai Baba is a smart man. He tells people about the basic laws of the world where they live, tries to make them understand how to search for these laws, and how to comply with them. But it is limited only to your world. For some reason, he tries to teach more than necessary. Is it true that in the process of change an unheard of event will occur in the history of the cosmos, we will step over the octaves of the universe? And where will we go after no one knows? There will be a transition to a different tone. Everything will sound new. It will be like good music, where everyone plays correctly and no one makes mistakes. Those who make mistakes will learn. Is there any help in the formulation of information and in the arrival of information when Elhfi are near, or does the information come to you by itself? Information comes to me by itself. Elhfi only explains things to me that I don't understand. Sometimes I can figure it out faster myself. How do you come to understanding that there will be this or that? It's like a puzzle. First, the overall picture is shown, and then it falls apart. These parts join each other only when I remember how two or more parts join together. If I don't understand this, the picture won't appear again, and I'll forget about it. In general, knowledge is not always transmitted by a picture. These may be words. Words can explain or draw. They come when a question is asked. You don't need to look for an answer, you need to ask the question correctly. There are such extraordinary predictions as a flash of radiation, peoples moving to live underground and changing the structure of the body to organosilicon. How literal is this information and how much do you believe in it? These are not predictions, these are knowledge. It exists not only in words, but also in the form. This form is in the conditional future for people, but time does not make sense here. It makes sense what people will become in their development. The current development leads them to this. In addition to the future, this knowledge is also in the past. This means that the movement to this form began much earlier than you think. And people were those who started it. Is information about the future in general inherent to us, or is it some kind of a hint from the future, us to ourselves or someone who is more than us? If it comes, then is it an occasion to change, or vice versa, is it an occasion to see the inevitable open to the eye ahead? Information about the future has always been inherent in people, because the world is developing not in a line, but in a circle. If you look at it from all sides at once, it will turn into a ball. There is no point in drawing lines in this ball, because the ball always closes their points. When you live in a balloon, you think you live on it. This is funny, because then there are a lot of balls, just like on fun holidays. There is a machine that constantly lets these balls, and the guys like to burst them. And the balls shimmer with all the colors of the rainbow, which makes them beautiful. Your balloons are also beautiful, but there's no point inflating them. If you inflate your balloon, it will only repeat the copy of the balloon that already exists. If you inflate balloons, you should be able to pop them. Children know how to do it, and adults swear at them for it. The bursting of the ball, this is a hint from the big ball. When your balloon bursts, it lets you see what it used to close. If your ball is always with you on a thread, then you can fly away with it. If it is air, then you will have to fall, and this can be very painful. People can't fly balloons, although they love to fly balloons. I like balloons. They are so big and brightly colored that sometimes I want to fly them myself. In 2003, I suddenly had an epiphany. Just at one moment I realized and saw the upcoming change. Since then, something has been pulling me and pushing me, as far as I understand, to prepare for life after changes. And I still feel that there is a goal, but I cannot reach it with my mind, only fragments of past and future life and knowledge. So, Sasha, can you tell if there are many such people and what to do in this case? Why are they here? That you described of yourself is being had by people who feel events in the world, not only in the present. There are not many such people, but soon there will be more. In relation to all people, they will still be small. 130-158. If you talk about what is coming with those who do not understand, you will be considered stupid and will be treated as stupid. In this case, it will be worse, because you will not be allowed to use the information of all people, and it will be needed. What you feel as a goal will be revealed a little later, after you understand what you have accepted. You need to be in the lives of ordinary people, try to understand what is happening in the world, not only from newspapers and TV, but also from conversations and changes in nature. You must look, think, and understand for yourself, sometimes with the help of books. You need to understand why such changes occur, what they started from, and what they can come to. You must learn how to assemble different models from the constructor in front of you. These models may be correct or incorrect. If the model is wrong, it destroys itself. Learn to talk to people like you at a distance. Are there really guardian angels? Yes. They are always next to you. What does it do to wear a cross on yourself? This is a sign of openness. Sasha, if you would write a short guide, how should live indigo? Which 10 points would you put in first place? 1. Be a man. 2. Strive for knowledge. 3. Know how the world is arranged. 4. Understand that you are not alone. 5. Always be who you are. 6. Find new things and connect them with the world. 7. Live in peace and with the world at the same time. 8. Don't forget that you came to live. 9. Use what you came to live with. 10. Become the world. You asked the question that aroused the most interest. Thanks. The answers are given in the most formulated form, approximate Elhfi. Do you see, feel such people who manage thousands and the people who do not even know about it? And what are the goals? A large number of people cannot be managed by one person. Even the president doesn't govern alone. He is being helped. Those who help, combine their knowledge into one and simultaneously make a decision, create thoughts. Those who govern are never seen as the president. The president is a person to pay attention to, listen to, and go where he says. Those who tell you how to do it, look at how things are going, and try to create better situations of events. Best doesn't mean good. You will never see those who control you. You are created so. People are performers. They perform until they begin to understand what is happening. Then they are released from execution. The release means that the lesson has been answered with an X. The lesson must necessarily be understood. Everything happens as in a normal school. There the children also need to learn the lessons and share what they have learned. Adults send their children to school themselves and monitor their progress. They also check their diaries, they look at ratings and comments. The same happens with adults. In many religions, they say God loves and He will forgive sin. You killed, maimed, cursed, morally mocked, ask for forgiveness and you're clean. If a person did something that hurt another person, they should be punished. Punishment always comes, and if you run away from it, it becomes stronger. Forgiveness can and should be asked for. But you may not be forgiven immediately. For this, for example, my mother needs more time than my father. But I get a stronger punishment from a dad for insults. People don't forgive immediately because they have to figure out what to do. What happened was not visible to them, but it happened. This is unexpected. You need to stop here. A long stop harms those who find themselves in this situation. Then people begin to dislike each other. Forgiveness means that everyone understands what happened and doesn't take offense at the other. In life, not so. People try to forgive, but they don't forgive and they accumulate sense of grievance. Then it goes outside and hits people who look like those who has hurt. They didn't do it and take offense at the striker. It's getting harder to understand. Then understanding disappears, and hatred begins. Then there is a war. When people say I'm sorry, it's an invitation to understanding. You need to respond and understand. Only immediately, and those who participated in it, can free themselves from the harm of grievance. Those who give forgiveness without knowing what happened make a mistake. This mistake is accepted by the aggrieved, and then it becomes more difficult for them to understand other grievances. Therefore, they will continue to go to the one who knows how to forgive, until they completely forget how to do it. Sometimes the forgiver can teach forgiveness. Then it's the teacher. It brings understanding and waits for people to understand it. If people don't understand, he stops talking to them until people use the knowledge passed on to them. I look at people, and everything they do seems so small, unnecessary. Although it's been a long time for me, it's just that the feeling has intensified recently. And whatever information I get, it immediately transforms into sensations, and in general, I live more with sensations lately. How can this be explained? People are behaving much worse than they should. This is bad. They don't understand that this changes their future. It comes back to them in time and makes them as bad as they are to themselves and others. People will stop being helped because of this. Feelings are a conversation, but a simpler one. You don't understand what is being said to you in the world language, and your body is used to translate it. Can I learn to see the aura of people? Yes. To do this, you must learn how to create and manage colors. This comes from knowing your own colors, which you have 7. The aura is much larger than your body, so the colors merge into a picture in which you need to learn to see the shapes. Somewhere in the early 90s, I suddenly clearly felt that I have wings, ethereal, I can spread them, but I do not know what they are for, and how they can be used. When you feel that you can fly, it means that your energy is close to maximum. It needs to be released. You can do this by rising above the ground, or you can do it on it. In the first case, the energy will disappear faster, but it will be more useful. After that, if the energy was spent correctly, you will have this feeling again. How do you feel the changes in the world and in particular in yourself? The changes become more pronounced. They are disturbing because they are not going exactly as we would like. I think this is transmitted to people as well. Why are you helping us? Do you cultivate love? We don't help people. We explain the situation. The event will be passed in any case. The concept of love is human, only you people can cultivate it. Can the inhabitants of the earth become those who are beyond the limit? Not quite the right question. You are a part of us, but you don't understand it. There is a concept of development. It is true for you and for us. It's like at school, you need to study in classes. School always ends. But there are several schools. You and we choose which school to go to next. If you don't do this, you won't be able to live. How many dimensional is our universe? As much as the person determines.